This is today's reading for the Vermilion Valley Vineyard audio devotional book, Walking with Jesus.
Hey there, this is Teneko James and my devotion is coming from Matthew 13 verses 12 to 43, Mark 4 verses 21 to 34, Luke 13 verses 18 to 21. I have entitled it, Precious Moments. Studies have found that children who have stories or fairy tales read to them regularly are more willing to express their feelings and communicate their thoughts more effectively. This is possible because stories create presence, providing readers with a sense of being somewhere, causes listeners to listen with intent, process information provided by the storyteller, assess the message being conveyed, and determine how they feel about it. Stories not only appeal to our senses and emotions, but they also take our attention captive, leaving a lasting impression on the reader/listener for years. I can remember the excitement I felt as a child when my teacher would call the students to gather around her on the rug to read a story. The inflections in my teacher's voice as she changed it from a whisper, as the creeping things crawled, to a loud and booming voice, as the giants walked the earth, in the story, causing chaos and confusion. The class was captivated, lost in our little imaginations, but craving and demanding more of the story be told. My teacher would always follow up with questions like, are those giants, or other characters, mean? What do you think the little pigs, in the Three Little Pigs, were feeling? The big bad wolf is dressed as grandma, what do you think he is up to? These questions would spark debate, revealing the plethora of divided opinions within the group. The teacher would always remind the class that we would get to see whose opinion was right at the end of the story. I can also remember the reassurance, safety, and comfort I felt as I nestled closely to my mother, right before bedtime, as she would prepare to read my bedtime story. My mom would read a lot of Grimm's fairy tales, and classics like The Three Little Pigs read, but most bedtime stories were about manners, character, obedience, and morals. While my mother's goal, during story time, was to get me relaxed and off to sleep as quickly as possible. She did not know she was planting valuable moral seeds that has stayed with me through adulthood. Can you relate to any of these storytime experiences? This is why I believe one of the greatest gifts God has given the world is the gift of stories and storytelling. Because of a story's powerful impact on a listener, it should come as no surprise that Jesus also used stories, called parables, a simple story used to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson, to teach his disciples godly character and righteous behavior on earth. Imagine the disciples sitting at the feet of Rabbi Jesus, as he ministers to them using what would become the biblical parables. We can only imagine the vivid images their imaginations created, as Jesus encouraged them to not hide their light, but stand out and be an example to the world, using the parable of the lampstand, Mark 4 verses 21 to 34. Today, I challenge you to find a comfy spot and have story time with Jesus. Dive into the parables and ask the Lord questions, via prayer, about how to become a great storyteller for His glory. I am certain that He will respond. Let's do our part to spread seeds of faith, to fulfill the message found in the parable of the mustard seed, which highlights the growth of God's kingdom from a tiny beginning to worldwide size.